All right, so you were on the program, it was several months ago, and you were here with us on a Saturday morning, and we have a different audience. So I'd like you to kind of reintroduce yourself to the audience, talk to us a little bit about your own educational and professional background, and let people know who you are.
Okay, well, in terms of my background, I'm married to a wonderful woman, Melinda Moore, in Leesburg, and I am a short answer is financial analyst. Longer answer is I'm a business appraiser and expert witness in civil litigation, specializing in media and telecommunications.
Wow.
That's what I do as a civilian. But my background, I have a bachelor's degree from Indiana University and an MBA from the University of Chicago. I am a certified public accountant. I'm also a chartered financial analyst. You know, the CFA Institute.
Yes.
CFA Institute's headquarters,
which is right here.
Exactly, in Charlottesville. And I'm a CFA, and I have a couple of business valuation designations. I've been involved in the Libertarian Party going back to 1984, and I'd say heavily involved as a member now for a couple of decades. And this is the fourth time I've run for public office. The last time was when I was the Libertarian candidate for governor in 2001.
All right, so you mentioned the Libertarian Party, and I think there are a lot of people who are really unclear about what that means. So I'd ask you to describe what it means to you, and then to describe if the Libertarians have a party platform like the Democrats and the Republicans do, or is a Libertarian Party more individualized than that?
We do have a party platform, and it is something that is up for potential change at every national convention. We actually meet every 2 years at a national convention. We'll meet again, I believe it's going to be Memorial Day weekend 2010 coming up. But in any event, what libertarians stand for is libertarianism, which is a combination of conservative on economic issues and generally liberal on social issues. We think that people should be able to live their lives as they choose without interference, as long as they are not harming other people or their property. Consequently, we call for reduced government spending, lower taxes, and real respect for civil liberties. And in the big picture, that's what the party stands for.
What has been the biggest stumbling block for the Libertarian Party to gain traction? The Libertarians have been elected occasionally to major offices, but it's unusual for them to go beyond the state level. Why is that, and what needs to change for the Libertarian message to resonate across America?
Well, for the Libertarian Party, the problem is the same as it is for any minor party here in the United States, and the Libertarian Party is the third largest party in terms of number of members and money that we raise and number of candidates that we run. But the main problem is, in my opinion, our electoral system. Ultimately, we have, in my opinion, an antiquated election system in the United States, single-member plurality voting, single-member legislative districts, person with the most votes wins, single-member plurality. And political scientists will tell you that the natural result of that is two dominant parties, both running for the center, which I think they are, trying to offend as few people as possible so they can win these single-member district elections. And I think that there are other factors. There's ballot access that's a problem. There are lack of coverage in the media problems. There are a whole slew of problems out there for minor political parties, but I think at the end of the day it all comes back to our electoral system, and most established democracies around the world have proportional representation and consequently have a multi-party system. We don't, and that's why we have the R's and D's and the lesser of two evils problem.
One of the things that I worked for when I was involved in local government here in Charlottesville was a change to the electoral system locally, because we have a monolithic city government with no representation except for people who have a D after the name, with very rare occasions. And the last time an independent was elected in Charlottesville was in the 1930s, if that tells you anything about the machine here. So what sorts of changes, because I'm sure people have heard this before, but what specifically, in what specific ways could you change the system that would open it up? What are you proposing?
Well, first of all, with respect to single winner races, I think a good change would be to instant runoff voting, to allow people, instead of having one candidate, one vote to vote for no more than one candidate, to allow people to rank their choices, first choice, second choice, third choice, as many or as few as they like, and then when they look at the results, after the votes have been cast, if somebody has a majority of first choice votes, they're the winner. But if somebody does not have a majority, there is a candidate elimination process, eliminating candidates from the bottom up. And when a candidate is eliminated, that person's votes are transferred to each voter's second choice candidate. So people then can rank their choices, first choice, second choice, third, in the way they really feel. They don't have to vote strategically, they can vote their conscience, and they will not help elect the major party candidate they like least. It does away with the so-called spoiler effect of voting for a minor party candidate and assures majority support ultimately for the winning candidate.
Are there any municipalities that you're aware of in the United States that are using this system, and how has it been working, if so?
Yes, there are. San Francisco adopted it back in 2002, and of course people say, well, that's San Francisco, but by the same token, the Republican Party of Utah uses it for some internal party elections in Utah. More and more cities across the United States have passed this. This fall, it's up in Memphis. The city of Memphis, Tennessee, will be voting on whether to adopt instant runoff voting for the city elections on November 4th.
Very, very interesting. It's 1:24 here on the Schilling Show. 977-1070 is the phone number. Our guest is Bill Redpath. He's the Libertarian candidate for the United States Senate in Virginia. You can go to his website at Redpath, that's REDPATH, 2008.com. Bill, what is the biggest or most important issue that's facing America today from your perspective?
I think, well, I would say, I'll have to name two. One is national security. I think that if we didn't know it before 9/11, we know it now, that national security is very important. But in terms of strictly domestic issues, I think the problem is not the energy. The main problem is not energy, and it's not the current stock market situation or financial crisis. I think it is our aging population and the coming entitlement spending explosion. Social Security is a situation where it's going to start running a deficit in 2017. Medicare is already running a deficit. You've got a situation where this bank bailout, $700 billion is $0.7 trillion. The amount of money the federal government would have to put in the bank today to draw interest in the future to pay off the future deficits, projected deficits of the Medicare program, is $75 trillion. $75 trillion is 107 times the bank bailout amount. It's 5 times the annual gross domestic product of the United States. We know this is coming. We know it's a problem. And at the very least, the politicians of this nation have to start addressing this issue, but they're not. You really don't hear about this during the campaign. I think that's the biggest economic issue facing us.
It's a disaster, and it's interesting that you bring it up because 2 days ago on the program we had David Murata, who is a financial analyst, on with us talking about what he called the impending Social Security disaster, and he had costed out at around a $30 trillion bailout for Social Security based on what we're doing and where we're going right now. But he said that the time is running short for us to make a change. I mean, are we looking at a financial cave-in, an implosion in the United States of America if we don't deal with these things?
Well, possibly. I mean, at the end of the day, here's the thing, is that there are no property rights in Social Security. So Congress can, theoretically, at any time, go back and alter Social Security benefits. And believe me, if there's something that people out there can take to a hopefully strong bank, it's that the United States is going to welch on its promises to its citizens about Social Security and Medicare. It will, because it has to. It cannot live up to these promises, and the sooner we address these issues and come up with some sort of reasonable solution, the easier it is going to be on all of us.
All right, News Radio 1070, WINA. It's the Schilling Show with Bill Redpath. It is 1:27. Lines are open for you right now at 977-1070. We're going to head over to the 24-hour local news center now. Listen with very critical ears when you hear the news. Stand by. The Schilling Show will return in just a moment.